The greatest football tournament on Earth is supposed to begin today. 48 nations, 104 matches, 3 countries, 6 million visitors, the biggest World Cup in history. And right now, on the very morning it kicks off, FIFA's president stood before the world's press and told fans who cannot afford tickets, fans who have been turned away at borders, officials who have been detained and sent home, to chill. That word, chill, from the man who runs world football on the day the World Cup begins. And that single word may have just told us everything we need to know about how FIFA truly views the chaos that has consumed this tournament before a single ball has been kicked. Stay with us, because what is unfolding around this World Cup is unlike anything the sport has ever witnessed. 9 years ago, FIFA President Gianni Infantino stood in front of a microphone and made a promise, a clear, unambiguous, on-the-record promise. Any team, including the supporters and the officials of that team, who would qualify for a World Cup need to have access to the country, he said. Otherwise, there is no World Cup. That is obvious. Those words are now haunting him, because what is happening at the 2026 FIFA World Cup is the precise opposite of that promise, and the world has not forgotten what he said. Iran's Football Federation announced this week that FIFA had revoked the ticket allocation for Iranian fans for their team's 3 group stage matches inside the United States, an entire nation's supporter base stripped of their right to attend. Not because of anything they did, but because of where they are from. Iran's team, trying simply to prepare for the biggest tournament in football, was forced to relocate its training camp from the United States entirely. The squad is based in Tijuana, Mexico, flying into American cities only for match days before returning. Think about what that means for a moment. A nation that qualified for the World Cup, that earned its place through months of competition, whose players must now treat their own tournament as a series of day trips across a border. And yet, this week, Infantino looked directly at the cameras and said he did not regret choosing the United States as host. He said FIFA is not the king of the world. He said it is better sometimes to chill and relax. That word is still ringing. But the Iran situation is only one thread of a story that has been unraveling for months. To understand the full scale of what is happening, you need to go back further, because the chaos that is visible today did not appear overnight. The warnings were there, and they were largely ignored. When the violence erupted near Guadalajara, Mexico's second-largest city and a 2026 World Cup host, after the killing of one of the country's most wanted cartel leaders, gunmen torched cars and blocked highways across more than half a dozen states. The unrest gripped the very city where World Cup matches are scheduled to be played. Mexican officials were quick to issue assurances. President Claudia Sheinbaum pledged that 100,000 security personnel would be deployed across the country during the tournament. FIFA said the matches would go ahead. Officials in Guadalajara insisted there was absolutely no risk. But the images of burning cars and blocked roads near a World Cup city were already on television screens across the world, and no press release could erase them. A football fan, Tom Roeder, spoke for many when he told reporters he had made a decision. "I'm afraid I might not be allowed into the country," he said. "I've decided to fly to Canada at most, but not to the USA. I hope that at least the issue of war with Iran does not reach North America, at least not in a way that affects us personally." A football fan afraid to travel to the World Cup. That is not a sentence anyone expected to write in 2026.
And that brings us to the story that stopped the football world entirely. The story of a referee from Somalia who earned his place at the World Cup the hard way and was turned away at the door. If you are watching this and you care about football, really care about it, hit that subscribe button now, because we are covering every twist of this tournament as it unfolds, and what comes next is a story you need to hear. Omar Abdul Qadir Artan spent years refereeing on the most difficult roads imaginable. He was named African Referee of the Year. He was personally selected by FIFA to officiate at the 2026 World Cup, the first Somali referee in the tournament's history. He landed in Miami. He was questioned for 11 hours. He was denied entry. He was sent home. FIFA confirmed it. The man they selected, the man they told the world represented football's expanding reach, was gone before the tournament began. Back in Mogadishu, a crowd gathered at the airport. Somali flags, journalists, supporters. They welcomed him back like the hero he is, because whatever happened at that border, whatever justification was offered, the football world understood something very clearly. He had earned his place. He had simply been turned away. And now, this week, a U.S. official offered a new explanation for Artan's denial. The suggestion was that there were suspected terror ties. Artan and his representatives have rejected this completely. The Confederation of African Football called the claim deeply offensive. The football community responded with fury. Whether the allegation is true or false will be argued and investigated for months. But what it has done, what it has added to an already incendiary situation, is pour fuel onto a fire that FIFA is struggling to contain. Because it was not only Artan. The Iraqi team's official photographer was detained for more than 10 hours at the U.S. border and denied entry. Iraqi striker Ayman Hussein was questioned for 7 hours at Chicago's O'Hare Airport before being allowed to continue. 15 Iranian officials were denied entry altogether. Supporters from Morocco, from Ivory Coast, from Senegal reported visa delays, enhanced screening, and rejection rates they had not anticipated. The tournament was billed as the most accessible World Cup in history. What fans on the ground are experiencing tells a very different story. And then there is the money. FIFA priced group stage tickets at $140. The final in New Jersey on the 19th of July has seats listed at $8,680. Hospitality packages for that same final reached $73,200. And on FIFA's own official resale platform, one Category 3 seat for the final was listed at $143,750, more than 41 times its original face value. Attorneys general in California, New Jersey, New York, and Texas have opened investigations into World Cup ticket pricing. That is 4 separate legal investigations into the way tickets for this tournament were sold, running simultaneously as the opening match kicks off. Infantino's response this week was to note that the NBA finals had also seen high ticket prices. He said that if FIFA is doing something wrong, then everyone in North America is doing something wrong. 130,000 tickets were eventually offered at $60 out of a total of 6 to 7 million. Do the mathematics on that. For every $60 ticket, there were roughly 50 seats that most ordinary fans could never afford. In Qatar 4 years ago, group stage tickets began at $70. At the 2018 tournament in Russia, the cheapest entry point for foreign supporters was around $105. The 2026 World Cup, for all its talk of inclusion, has priced itself beyond the reach of the very fans it claimed to welcome.
And across the host cities themselves, the financial pressure has created another layer of chaos that has received far less attention than it deserves. Miami was still waiting weeks before the opening match for $70 million in federal funding for its Fan Fest, the outdoor celebration zones designed to bring supporters together across the city. Without that money, the host committee's chief operating officer warned publicly that planning and coordination could become catastrophic. His word, catastrophic. New Jersey, the state hosting the World Cup final, canceled its planned tournament-long fan fest at Liberty State Park altogether, a festival that ticket holders had already paid to attend. Refunds are now being processed. These are not minor footnotes. These are the experiences of fans who bought into the promise of this tournament, fans who saved, who planned, who believed. FIFA's World Cup chief operating officer, facing questions about whether any of this might lead to the tournament being postponed or scaled back, gave an answer that was striking in its bluntness. The tournament, he said, is simply too big to postpone. Too big to postpone, not everything is under control, not we have addressed the concerns, simply it is too big to stop. And perhaps that is the most honest thing anyone from FIFA has said throughout this entire episode. The machine is too large to slow down. The contracts are signed, the stadiums are ready, the broadcasters are waiting. The tournament will happen because the tournament must happen. But what it will look like, who will actually be inside those stadiums, which fans were turned away, which officials never arrived, which communities feel welcomed and which feel excluded, that is the story that will outlast every goal and every final scoreline. Football has a remarkable ability to transcend the mess surrounding it. When the ball rolls and the first goal goes in and 80,000 people rise to their feet, something happens that no controversy can entirely diminish. The game finds a way to matter. It always has. But the questions raised by this World Cup will not disappear with the opening whistle. They will follow every match. They will be argued in the stands, in the courts, in the federation boardrooms, and in the football conversations families will have for years to come. Who is the World Cup for? Who gets to attend? Who gets to referee? Who gets to dream? 9 years ago, FIFA's president said the answer was obvious: everyone, without exception. Today, the evidence on the ground suggests the answer is far more complicated and far more troubling. The 2026 FIFA World Cup has kicked off. 104 matches, 48 nations, the biggest tournament in the history of the sport. It may also become the most consequential, not for what happens on the pitch, but for everything that happened before and around it. The world is watching, and one thing is certain: the biggest story of this World Cup may not be who lifts the trophy in New Jersey on the 19th of July. It may be the story of everyone who never got to watch them do it.